That are going to be in your sample kit is a casement corner cut. We don't offer everwood in this region, so ignore that. Help the customer understand that this will be a solid color. Most likely you'll be doing it in dual color if you're pitching a casement. So typically some sort of dark earthy tone out here, you know, your ebony, your dark bronze, really any of the darker colors are probably going to end up making sense. Maybe it'll be white, but on the inside, depending on the combination that you have, white will be an option, or Sierra will be an option for you as well. So this is in your kit. On the kit it has a couple of things that we're not going to be using because we don't offer everwood, which would be the extension jambs that whenever you receive your kit are right here. The extension jambs will not be used, and the brick mold that sits on the outside of the window here as it comes in your sales kit is something else that we don't use because it doesn't hold up to the temperatures that we experience in the Southwest. So you'll be taking that off of your kit whenever you get your kit. Now, having said that, that still leaves us with a very functional and useful tool in the corner cut sample that we have here of our casement window. All right, so with the casement window, there's a few things that if we are presenting this to a customer, we want to make sure that they see and they understand the value of. So one of the things with the casements is that if you notice, where's the camera? If you notice here, you have, no, it's right here in the middle. If you notice here, you have a bulb seal. So it has a filling inside of it that will not develop a memory, so that no matter how many times this window is opened and closed, they test them to a cycle of 20,000 times. So no matter how many times the window is opened and closed, this will keep its shape, allowing for the frame and the sash to come together and create an effective seal. Now, in addition to that, you can see down here on the bottom, where I'm pointing here, that there is another weather stripping that is installed here. And then you can also see inside that there is a break inside of it too. Do you see the little square inside? So effectively, what ends up having to happen whenever the window is in the closed position and as debris, think leaves and just whatever other types of debris, I'm not talking specific dust, whenever they blow on the window in its closed position, this first piece of weather stripping here that is on the exterior of the window and visible there, that one is there primarily for debris, maybe even pests, to help avoid having debris blow in. Now at the same time, there still is smaller particulates, you know, think your dust and your sand and whatever else, that maybe could get past this level here. If it does do that, which by design it probably will, when it does do that, it's going to be met with some challenges. One, this filler piece that's in here, but then most importantly, this bulb weather stripping here is going to keep your smaller debris and your moisture and all of that out. Having said that, you know, having to come in, get around this, make its way all the way into this cavity, and then end up here is something that we've engineered a way to prevent that and minimize infiltration of smaller particulates into the home. Okay, now, having said that, some other things, and these are not unique to the casement window, but I'll use this to talk about it real quick. One of the things you'll notice on all of our units is that there is no glazing strip. So here on the exterior of the window, it's a single piece. And then on the interior, which I can show you better on a sample that I'll be getting into here in a second, on the interior it is also a single piece that surrounds the glass, no glazing strip. That's something that's important because that's going to give integrity to the frame as it supports the glass. All right, so that's one piece of it. We can get into, but it's better off to do this with your glass samples, but we can get into how the glass is supported in the frame, the various pieces of, you know, butyl rubber and silicone that are supporting the glass. We're not going to get into that quite now. Something else that is important about all of our glass that we will get into a little deeper, but I want to point out on this, is that there are different thicknesses of glass on the exterior versus the interior. The reason for that is because it helps sound transmission, sound waves to get broken up as it goes through each piece of glass. So it's reducing the amount of noise, be it road noise, neighbors, air conditioning units, whatever exists, whatever white noise exists outside. It's helping minimize the impact of that. We'll dive into it a little bit more whenever we start talking about glass. So on your corner cut for your casement, those are your key pieces, and then of course beauty, smaller frame, all of that kind of stuff. Okay, not spending a lot of time on it and not really opening up to questions right now. This is just kind of, those are the facts. One thing though that I do want to make sure you're aware of is that this jam receiver that's here on the inside is going to be there anytime we do this style of window. And so a piece of flat trim is applied that covers this jam receiver, the same color as whatever the interior color is, since we're not doing everwood, and it will cover this and give us a nice clean area where we concoct the window after we've done all of our foaming and all of that stuff back here between the rough opening and the actual frame of the window unit. Okay, fair enough? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and put that away. We're moving on. Now, you also have within your bag a corner cut for a health plan. That's what it said on my watch just now. You also have within your bag a corner cut for a hung window. All right, you can tell this is a hung for a multitude of reasons. One way that you can tell that is because of these guides, I'll just call them for lack of a proper term here, that keep the sashes sliding up and down on the track within the frame. So your sash is secured here and allows the window to slide up and down whenever it's actually installed in the house, and it's not just a little sample that we're using here. Same type of rules apply. You still have those solid, as you can see here, this solid one piece construction around the window, no glazing strips either inside or out. That's a big deal because most of the competitors that you're going to come up against have some sort of a glazing bead or a glazing strip that is used to quote unquote secure the glass into the frame, but it really doesn't. You guys saw an example of that yesterday. It's a very flimsy material, very thin, and really it exists for the builders or the manufacturers to have a nice easy way to make the window and be able to go back and fix it whenever it messes up the glass, because the frame and the weather stripping were not capable of fully supporting the weight of the glass. We have to make sure the customer understands that, and then additionally we can show them how much more beautiful it is to have these very nice clean lines. All right, you still have the same type of bulb weather stripping here. Again, it's not going to develop a memory. They need to understand that, because remember, effective weather stripping. We have to have effective weather stripping. If we have effective weather stripping, then the unit will be able to do its job, which is to keep the elements where it belongs, either inside or outside of the house. If the frame is moving, if the weather stripping develops a memory so that it's not able to seal anymore, then it's not going to be effective and the window isn't going to do its job. So they need to understand the value of this bulb weather stripping that's right here. Additionally, since this is available as a sloped seal unit, if I hold it square, you can see that this is at a slope. It's an 8-degree slope. Since that's available, we also don't have any sort of water management that allows water to penetrate into the frame. There's no weep holes or anything like that on the exterior of our window. We don't want water sitting in the frame, allowing pests and potentially other organic things to grow inside of the frame, which then transfers into your home. We don't want that, but because of the strength of Alltrex, we're able to have a very thin profile and then be able to manage water in such a way that it doesn't ever enter into the frame. That is also fairly unique in our offering as compared to other offerings. It's important, okay? Now, looking at this, I want you to see that by design, this is the inside of the home, that by design and just the nature of how it's built, this weather stripping out here is going to be your first line of defense. Get a good angle on it. It's going to be the first line of defense again against debris, all right, and air infiltration and other things, but its primary function is that. Then, as it comes in, there is also this additional lip here, and so anything that is trying to penetrate is going to have to make it past this weather strip here, and then up and over this interior piece here. All right, it's not going to happen. It's going to be very effective at keeping the elements where they belong, both at the bottom of the sash and then also along the sides here. So that's a little bit about what's going on with this window, with the double hung unit. Ultimately, you need them to understand the thinner profile, how thin the profile is, how thin even the frame itself is, and how that's going to increase their glass space. Having the strength of this material is going to support the glass, minimize frame, maximize view, all of those type of things there. One last thing that I want to make sure, this is true of all of our windows, is that whenever we look at how we do the miters here in the corner, we have a very, very clean, far above industry standard miter here in the corner, where this comes together. There's no unsightly fusion welds, no big bumps that are going to get dirty over time, right? None of that. It is clean. It is clean, all right? That makes it beautiful. Clean and beautiful is nice. Having good performance is good, but making sure that that performance lasts is important. It's vitally important. It's not how you start, it's how you finish, right? It's not how you start, it's how you finish. And so for that miter that exists here, inside of it, there is this piece here. And I'm gonna go over that real quick. Inside of that corner and in your kit, there are these two pieces, all right? There are these two pieces. This piece is called a corner key. We use them on multiple places. On the frames in your screen, there's corner keys. On the corners of the sash where there are miters, there are corner keys. There are corner keys all over the place, okay? Because what a corner key allows us to do is a corner key allows us to take two separate pieces, so imagine this is long, right? This is just the corner. Take two separate pieces and be able to cut a 45-degree miter, join them together, and look how precise it's joined. I mean, look at how the point comes together. Do you see this? I mean, it's not overlapping, one's not longer than the other, it's how it should be. Some of that has a little bit to do not just with how we measure and cut the lineals that comprise the frame of the sash or the frame of the unit itself. Some of that has to do with the corner key, because whenever you make this cut and you stick it on here, and you make the other cut and you stick it on there, then this helps line everything up. And then through the side here, instead of having to glue it and screw it, which a lot of companies like Pella, Milgard, Jaldwin will glue and screw these windows here at the edge. Other people who have a fiberglass material, they will glue and screw it, all right? Screws are susceptible to wiggling their way out over time as expansion and contraction comes into play, all right? They are susceptible to doing that. However, with a corner key, screws are susceptible to wiggling out as expansion and contraction come into play. Thankfully, Ultrex has an extremely low rate of expansion and contraction, but even given that, since we put a corner key in it, this rests inside of these two pieces, and then through the side, resins are injected that fill in these cavities and create an incredibly strong bond between the two mitered pieces that is not going to come apart, not due to any amount of stress. It is not going to come apart. A corner key is an imperative part of what we do. Alternatively, what your vinyl offering is going to do is just melt these two corners together. There's no corner key, there's no structural integrity within it. this gives us structural integrity that's going to last for many years to come. Okay, now that's your corner key piece. This is a piece that you want to get good with using. People need to understand this stuff. All right, within your kit, let me clean up real quick a little bit here, make this a little bit better for us. Whenever you're in the house, you can leave this stuff out, because you will be going back and grabbing it and answering a question and giving clarity and all of that kind of stuff. Oh, something else that's easier to show on this that I didn't do. It's easier to show than it is on this. Maybe not, I don't know. But if you look down the center here where the spacer is, you can see that because we're using Cardinal 366, there is a stainless steel spacer in between that has a bend here at the corner as opposed to a joint. A lot of manufacturers, Pella included, whenever they make their own, because Pella has sometimes where they use Cardinal glass and sometimes where they use their own glass that they manufacture, there will be a joint there. All of your cheaper windows are going to have a joint here in the spacer in the corner. It doesn't work because now at a minimum we've introduced 4 additional points of failure at each corner of the sash. We don't want to be introducing points of failure. We want to design and engineer and manufacture and install something that is going to be in your house for many years to come, potentially and probably the last window that you will ever have to buy. And every little piece of this matters in bringing that reality to, or bringing that vision to a reality. All right, so the single piece spacer, see how it has a little bend back here? That's because most manufacturers want to make it easy, cut 4 pieces, glue them together, stick some glass on it. The reality is we're not trying to make something easy. We're not trying to make something cheap. We're trying to make something that works. People need to understand that. And we have done that successfully with Marvin Infinity. Okay. Now, moving on, within your kit, you also have glass packs. There's a variety of ways glass packs are used. I'm only going to touch on some of them right now. As we get into a more full demo, we can go over that, but this is for posterity going through the sample kit. Within the kit, there's a few different glass packs. This is the only one that I really care about because I'm going to teach you guys to compare the performance of what they're going to get whenever they replace their windows with you compared to what is currently installed in their house. That makes it very real. There are a lot of sales reps who are already going in there and doing a heat lamp demo using a radiometer, which also comes in your kit and we'll teach you how to use, but using a radiometer, heat lamp, and glass packs. All right, there's a bunch of people already doing that. We don't want to swim in a sea of sameness. We don't want to just be exactly like what the last guy did. We want to create difference. Remember, they need to perceive difference between us and somebody else, between our products and services and somebody else's, between you and the level of service that you provide compared to somebody else. All right, so the way that this ends up being used, the way you will be taught to use it, is to help them understand glass. You might have already been able to do that on your corner cut sample. That you might be able to just already do it on there. But the way that this would be used is this is a sample of Cardinal's Low E3 366. It says it right down here. It's a little backwards on the camera, but that's what it says. And so what this does is makes it very easy for the customer to see a variety of things. One, on this you can see up in each corner that it is bent. The stainless steel spacer has bends there, just like I was just mentioning. You can also on this very easily see it. I'm going to find it right there. We won't be able to see it on camera, but in this case here there is a joint right there where everything comes together. The joint, as far as the spacer goes, is in the field. It's not in a corner because it's going to be stronger out here in the field as opposed to directly in the corner, because we want this to last as long as it possibly can. You can also show them very easily something that you can't show with your corner cut sample. You can also show them this butyl rubber that is here forming the seal between the spacer and the glass, and explain to them the process of getting the gas inside of here whenever we're manufacturing. You guys watch the video from Cardinal and how they do it. Vacuum sealed chamber, basically build the window around it. capture as much of it as you can, over 95% fill of argon and nitrogen blended gas in here. That acts as insulation, just like the pink stuff that's in your wall, except we can see through it, but it's designed to keep the elements where they belong, either inside or outside of the house. However, a critical component in doing that is not just starting off with good glass, which we do, and many of the other major manufacturers like your Anderson or your Pella, they start off with good glass. The major component is making sure that you have a frame that is going to be able to continue to support it and is not going to damage the glass or the seal over time and as it's exposed to the elements: heat, cold, expansion, contraction. That's pretty much what you're going to be using the glass for. Of course, until the kits are redesigned, you're going to want to make sure that your customer has good instructions, that they're okay touching it this way, but we don't want them sliding their finger up and down it here. All right, we're still holding a piece of glass in our hands. Don't let anybody cut themselves. Very unlikely. Most people are cautious and understand, what they would be handling there. So that's in here. There's 4 other packs, and they can serve different purposes, but for the way that we are doing things, they're not vitally important. Your 366 is the one that is going to be and is most important. All right, everybody tracking with me so far? All right, I'm gonna kind of keep rolling here. You have a sample of your screen. There is also a corner key here in the screen. Oops, there's also a corner key here in the screen. This is an extruded aluminum screen, making it much stronger than a roll form screen. So what that means is a roll form screen is where they take a flat piece of aluminum and they just bend it into the shape that they want and put it all together to form, to form each of these lineal pieces here. However, with an extruded aluminum screen, it's just like what I was telling you about using the Play-Doh machine, where you take high heat and high pressure, you press it through it, it goes through a mold, it spits out a shape. That is what's done with this extruded screen. So it's coming out in this shape, and then we're putting it together, as opposed to taking a thinner material and folding it around. You can not really get a sense, and I don't want you to tell people, oh, bend it, feel how strong it is, because whenever it gets bigger, obviously they're going to be able to twist it. That's not the purpose of it. The purpose really would be to demonstrate just your standard fiberglass fabric, which is this. This comes included in the base product, so that they can see what that looks like. You might be holding it up over here somewhere so they can kind of see, you hold it on their existing window so they can see, what it's going to look like. It's a standard material that everyone's been using for a long time. There is an upgraded screen that you can use. I believe it's called True View, but I'm not quite sure. But it is a stainless steel mesh that has a much thinner thread on the fabric and a somewhat tighter pattern on the mesh that will increase visibility by 50% when looking through the screen. If you're 10 feet away, you can hardly see it. All right, there's an upcharge for that in your books, in your pricing, and it's something that personally I would include on every project that I sell. It gives you a good drop if you need something to drop and take it out, and you can tell them that it's included in their base price, but that if they need to save a little bit, that you can offer them some savings by changing to a fiberglass screen instead of going with the stainless steel screen. That's a little bit more strategic, but that's how I like to use that particular piece. Talking about this though, what this piece is really going to be for, one, to demonstrate the screen like we talked about, but you can get a sense, and I'm going to hand this to you, you can get a sense as you squeeze the material. I'm not asking you to bend it, I'm just saying as you squeeze the material, you can get a sense for how strong an extruded aluminum frame is on a screen as opposed to a roll form screen. And you don't need anything really other than this piece to contrast it, because most of us have had the experience of taking a screen out and it just going crazy, flopping every which direction. So I'm going to go ahead and pass that around, and you guys can kind of squeeze it, is all that I'm asking you to do. Squeeze the material, get a sense for how dense an extruded aluminum frame is, and that's included in your base price.